Hello and welcome to the Frontington and Backwards Railway. Today I'm back at the workbench with my 5700 class pannier tank, making it feel good on the inside. I've already been working on the outside of this model, so check out my other video for details on that. Today we're diving into the inner workings to try to make it run a little better. In case you're wondering, this is an old split chassis model produced by Replica Railways. Because of this, it doesn't have conventional pickups like you'll find on modern models. Instead, the power is transmitted via the axles to the two sides of the metal frame, with the motor completing the circuit in the middle. Before we go ahead and take everything apart, it might be useful to connect a power source to the motor, so you have a point of reference for later. If it runs poorly now and better after you've serviced it, you know you've done a good job. If it runs poorly now and worse later, you've probably done something wrong. Either way, it's good to know what your starting point is. In fairness, this isn't too bad, all things considered. It's wobbly and noisy, but hopefully we can address at least one of those problems. The first thing to check when servicing a model like this is where the axles sit in the chassis, as this is where the electricity will be transmitted. All of this needs to be squeaky clean. Isopropyl alcohol on a cotton bud works really nicely to clean up any gunk that is collected there. I'll do the wheel axles as well while I remember. Once that's clean, we can carefully disassemble the chassis so we can get to the gears that connect the motor to the axles. Again, let's use some IPA to clean up these gears. If there's a lot of dirt here, a toothbrush might help to get between the cogs. An old toothbrush, mind. Brushing your teeth with isopropyl alcohol is not recommended. I'm also going to try and get into the motor itself, as that's not been cleaned in, well, ever actually. There could be anything in there. Fluff, soot, monsters? Who knows? Let's find out. Be very, very careful with those springs. They hold the brushes in place, and if they ping out, you may never see them again. Don't worry if the brushes don't come out now, we can get them out later if necessary when we get the casing off. Mine's got this red plastic coating on the screws. I think that means they don't want you to get inside, but I'm going to try anyway. What's the worst that can happen? Predictions in the comments. Those top screws are tiny. Don't lose those. Or sneeze. Given that it's nearly 40 years old, this doesn't actually look too bad. I will give it a clean though, just to make sure everything is spotless. Reassembly is fiddly, but not impossible. Just watch those springs. As we start to put everything back together again, it's always worth testing as you go along, making sure the motor still works. Mine's still making the right noises, so I think I'm okay for now. I'm using a spot of oil on, well, anything that moves, just to make sure it's as smooth and quiet as possible. I couldn't actually remember what order the gears went in. Thankfully, if you get it wrong, they just won't fit. So if the worst comes to the worst, just keep trying combinations until it all fits. The gears need a little oiling too. Not too much, just enough. And finally, we need to lubricate the axle bearings. But here we don't want to be using the same oil as before, because this needs to be electrically conductive as well as lubricating. You can buy products specifically for this, but you'll also find that graphite does a good job. In the case of this particular loco, scribbling on the axle bearings with a 4B pencil should do the trick nicely. Ooh, whoops, nearly forgot to screw the chassis together. Unfortunately, this part is broken, but hopefully it's not crucial. While everything is accessible, now is a good time to clean the wheels too. Now for the moment of truth. So, have we succeeded in transforming this aged model into a well-behaved, silky smooth runner? Not quite. At the end of the day, it's still an old split chassis model with a horribly worn wheel bearings. There's so much play in those axles that it rocks around like it's in an earthquake. But it's certainly better than it was before. It's no quieter, and it's still not great at low speeds, but once it's cruising around the layout, it's passable. Despite my best efforts, I don't think this model is going to win any performance prizes anytime soon. But it has at least managed to avoid the scrap heap. For now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.